It is now my pleasure to introduce Liz Kingsley. Liz's poetry has appeared in New Ohio Review, the McNeese Review, The Round, and Euphony. Her fiction has appeared in the William and Mary Review. Her essay appears in the collection Blended Writers on the Step Family Experience, and her poems have been nominated for Pushcart Prizes in 2013 and 2020. She studies poetry with Philip Schultz at the Writer's Studio, where she is the administrative director. During regular business hours, she's the elementary school special education teacher. She lives with her partner, their 5 children, and their 2 dogs in Westfield, New Jersey. Please welcome Liz.
I'm going to read 3 pieces. First is Your Knuckles. I hope you don't mind that I'm holding your hand, dear sister-in-law. I don't want to hurt you. But these knuckles, I'd know them anywhere. For such a delicate woman, your knuckles were always so wide, large, bony bumps. The only large thing about you. I think this is the first time I've touched them. So soft. You're in a bed in the dining room while your boys, Keith, and your parents come and go. You are the hub even while you lie here with your eyes closed. It's what they call a hospice. There's so much to tell you. Your brother wants to buy our son Alex a car. I couldn't believe it either. Should I let him? I'm going to make us a Grey Goose Cosmo so we can toast our new lives. We both left our first husbands and are now stepmoms with 5 kids. I'll drink for both of us. You looked at me years ago now over sushi and said that you'd found peace in Keith. I was thrilled for you, but didn't know how to tell you I was leaving Jared for a woman with 3 kids. Once at the lake, you said that if it ever came down to it, you'd keep me in the divorce. Last September during Rosh Hashanah services, you gazed at Keith with these eyes, and I thought, my girl's in love. We hugged outside the temple and you started crying. Did I do something? I'll take it back. 1,000 years ago, when we were in high school at your parents' house, Jared came down after showering and you said loudly, I'd do him, only you. You're beautiful boys. Remember when Jeremy was choking at the house in Tenafly? You tipped him upside down and yelled, don't leave me now. Even at 89 pounds, so tough. Is this going to be our last conversation? Me droning on? It's too soon. We're almost us again. My sister, you can let go now. Do you know that the last text you sent me says, huh? We can't end on that. I'm going to sit here and caress your big knuckles, though I want to climb into your bed, stroke your hair, and make little circles on your cheeks with my finger like you did to my boys when they were babies. My dog. Most of the time, he's licking the grimy floor or trying to dismantle the baseboard heater in search of a piece of his food he sure is back there, or parking his tank body under my feet in the kitchen while I'm chopping. I roll my eyes, begging him to go somewhere else so I won't trip over him or step on his wide platypus feet that don't match the rest of him. He looks up at me with his whole back end vigorously waving. He's so sweet, I can't help but put my knife down, sit next to him on the floor, take his pointy head in my hands, and accept his kisses. He isn't worried about being needy, has no interest in becoming self-sufficient. It's as though his massive heart is oblivious to my exasperation, even keen to receive it. I draw him closer, hoping his openness will rub off on me. I mean, where does he get the gall to be undeterred, no matter my grouchiness, to exist without pride or pain, to wag and lick and crawl up the mountain of me, asking shamelessly for love? My only father. You recently asked me why I appear distant, a question emblematic of how we've spent a life missing each other, me trying fruitlessly to be a good daughter, and you feeling I am absent. It's ironic that your life has been guided by a desire to be the center of a close family, because your actions appear designed specifically to accomplish the opposite. As we drift further and further away, I wonder if a center can indeed exist when it is surrounded by no one. The alcoholism and anger that you embody have had the unfortunate effect of defining me, causing me to adopt a disposition of pacifier, declaring peace on my enemies, notably me, who betrayed myself by doing anything not to rile you, and notably you, who loved me so fiercely in your sporadic moments of serenity that at my peril I let myself relax. Your drunken outrage was unpredictable and inescapable, as I first experienced years ago when I ventured downstairs with wet hair after a shower, the absurdity of your anger's catalysts being one of its hallmarks. Your temper first took hold in your deep, booming voice with which you blasted one-word sentences, a dramatic tactic that I suspect you perfected with less vitriol in your opening statements as a litigation attorney. Wet hair is intolerable. You stood on your toes during a tirade, the fury lifting you up, it leapt so wildly through you. Despite the distress caused by your tantrums, I would have preferred to endure them without the aforementioned unexpected moments of tranquility that freed you to treat me with affection and unfettered love. Imagine me unclenching, exhaling, and even giggling when you spoke passionately of your dreams for me or sang the name song, Nana Nana Bobana, only to be traumatized moments later by a tirade because, for example, upon serving you your requested hunks of Swiss cheese and white wine, I brazenly corrupted your quiet by making a joke. You lulled me with flickers of wit and playfulness, such as stickman drawing contests, which you proudly forfeited because you claimed the title of least talented artist, a win of sorts, is it not? Had I never seen your softness, my view of you would have had the ease and simplicity of one-dimensional fear. I cannot proceed without registering my disgust at the root cause of your rage, also arguably your one true love, alcohol. You allowed it to seduce you, to infuse you with an artificial and misguided boldness that escalated at warp speed into anger, which you trained with laser-like precision on your young children and 3 successive wives. I refuse to believe that you were born into this world petulant and violent. You chose to drink, even when in the aftermath of your abuse you reflected on your actions with shame. More to come on that. A father's principal job, I know you'd agree, is to protect his daughters from the innumerable societal forces that would harm them. Yet despite possessing this noble view, you drank your way to becoming your girls' most pronounced threat, turning their home into a minefield, a lovely landscape to the naked eye with unseen explosives deployed to deadly effect with one misstep. At the risk of delving too deeply into abstraction, let me highlight a concrete example of your destructive drinking, which devastated my hope for a comfortable childhood. One summer night, you drank yourself into oblivion and stood in our foyer playing air guitar, as you could not play the real instrument, plucking imaginary strings and swaying to the opening riff of Like a Hurricane while staring into the wall mirror with a self-fascination that could have taught Narcissus a thing or two. Your vehement playing, along with your energetic, albeit slurred belting of the lyrics, causing your face to redden and the veins in your neck to protrude, sent you crashing to the ground while the front door was open so that your performance and collapse were on display. There you lay, township attorney, councilman at large, and future judge, snoring and sweating on the floor in a fetal ball until a neighbor, seeing the commotion, came inside and carried you upstairs. Imagine humiliating your daughter to the degree that she preferred the idea of dying before puberty to living with you. Shame came the following day. You apologized, a gesture you have fashioned into an art, combining the right words, beautiful, mellifluous words, with a remorseful tone, lulling those who can't help but love you back into your good graces, no matter your heinous acts. Following this gorgeous moment of contrition, you announced to me, through self-congratulatory tears, as though romanced by your own epiphany, that you were an alcoholic. Praise, I said in reply, searching for a place in my broken heart from which I could offer you encouragement. Finally, I thought to myself, you understand. You professed with incomparable eloquence how it all made sense, how the defective genes you inherited, inclining you toward addiction, mixed with your insecurities to create the perfect drunk. Not only did you acknowledge your disease, you promised change, abstinence, therapy. The adrenaline of hope coursed up and down my body, but the hormone surge proved to be in vain, as just days later, your mea culpa utterly abandoned, your drinking and rage resumed with renewed vehemence, surely due to some unknowingly incendiary act of mine. Children create mess, and I was no exception. I was immature, unworldly, and faltering. If possible, I would have emerged from the womb ready to converse with you about legal precedent, Calvados, and Robert Johnson's fingers. Rather than a naive nuisance, I would have been your formally coiffed equal, a mind reader who knew when you craved companionship and when you wanted to sip your drink and devour Nero Wolfe novels in solitude. Picturing you digesting this clearly one-sided and woefully incomplete account of my experience as your child, I can anticipate your measured reply. Lizzie, I am sorry that my behavior has caused you to live such an awful life. I am not perfect, but I have never hit you, and I did not gamble away your college education. You have a home, you have clothing, you eat at nice restaurants. I have taken you to Maine. I am a human being. I wasn't coddled by my own father. Benny vastly preferred your uncle while expressing displeasure at my interest in books, my disinterest in sports, and my inability to use my hands to fix anything. I want you to live happily, and in order to convince you of that, I will withdraw so you may cleanse yourself of my horrid influence. Like Quasimodo says, remember we climbed Notre Dame together. I will go away so no one has to see my ugly face. Thank you. Goodbye. I believe that you are incapable of absorbing my truths and feel unduly ambushed. Hear this. The tragedy of my upbringing goes far beyond its occasional terror. It lies in my response, by which I mean the suppression of all feeling in order to maintain equilibrium. The alcoholic's child expertly navigates landmines by conditioning herself to live on tiptoe. She constantly has to cross the minefield, but walks so gingerly she might as well be invisible, and in fact learns that she promotes household peace and finds her own by remaining imperceptible. This tendency survives maturity's shedding of a host of juvenile behaviors and announces itself as a primary personality trait of the adult. So ingrained, it stunts her and leaves her unable to love or revile with any depth. A murder of sorts. I implore you, my father, your honor, defendant, to consider a just sentence for the perpetrator of a high crime such as this. Thank you.